Hi, this is Shirley Veronica. His daughter was a runaway. You will call her in Barbados, she's wandering, and you would have the authorities pick her up, and it's a juvenile type jail that the wanderers go into, and you never hear, well, maybe it is so, but because it's so secretive, you don't hear of the reason why the young person was on the street running away from danger. You don't hear about it. But every now and again, the reason creeps up, comes out. You kind of know that there has to be a really bad reason why a 10-year-old, can you imagine? Can you imagine being on the street all alone, sleeping somewhere all alone in the dark? Can you imagine? And to grow up and come of age and seeing that there was no justice for you. They took you away. They put you in a prison because you ran away from danger, and the person who caused it, nothing happened. But you're older now. You're older now, and that person is even older. Also, everyone gets old every day. Every day you get closer to that final point. But why would social services in Barbados, knowing the landscape, knowing what cases fill up the courts, they know the cases that fill up the dockets in Barbados, why would social services let something like this go on and on and on without any resolution, without making a young person feel, oh yeah, I spoke up and there was justice. He's not going to do it to someone else, or at least he's put away and maybe his face will show up in the paper, in the news, and people will know to keep their children away from this particular person. Nothing like that is happening. And why isn't it happening for a place that is prevalent with these sorts of crimes? The Child Care Board is a disgrace. You already know that. You already know that the Child Care Board is a disgrace. And then some people go through certain traumas. For some reason, they return to the vomit. They repeat the mistakes. Okay, they repeat those mistakes. Now, it happens that that child that ran away from this guy, his name is Felix John. Felix John, last name John. The female that ran away from him when they were still a child, they're still in need. They haven't reached a point in their life where they can say, okay, I got this. No, they still need assistance, either from the government or from someone, but they need assistance. And when they have to turn back to the vomit, meaning turn back to the father, the heir, okay? When they have to turn back to that source, it's a bad thing. That's trauma on top of trauma, okay? And then when you knock on the door of this past person that did whatever they did, and you ask for help, and you're thinking, we're older now, and you ask for help, and this person can look at you and say, well, you can stay here. If you don't want to sleep on the streets, you can stay here. But you have to show some favors. You have to give up some favors. The father now. speaking to his daughter. A father speaking to his daughter. Older, quite older, mature, older, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Once you're like that, you're like that. Okay? If you are of that persuasion, you are of that persuasion. Okay? It's not, you can't change. It's not, oh, I changed. No. The only thing that can make you a changed person is 6 feet under. You have to be 6 feet under. Final farewell. Family notice put out. Final farewell. That's the only thing that will make the situation for her different. And I don't know if he has anything to inherit, but that's the next step. That's usually people who are not in a good situation. They usually wait for some sort of parent to die, mother, daughter, mother, father. They'll wait. They'll wait around for you to take your final breath and just move on into the house or whatever. But as far as he is concerned, Felix John, he is still very much willing to violate a child that he is the father of. His name, he is the father, he is her daddy, father, and he has no problem. And he is saying that because she is not going along with this program, his program, she has to leave. She has to leave. So she returned to her vomit because she was in dire need. She needed some place to stay. And where she went, the door she knocked on, and the face that she knew from the time she was born, which he was, addict from young, but the face that she saw and that she's thinking should know better by now, asked the same question, behaved the same way, and I keep telling you, once in the United States, for example, and they have all these psychiatrists and they have all the money to spend doing, surveys and weighing and doing, experiments or what. They're saying there's no change when you're like that. There's no change when you are a pedophile. There's no change. Okay? So she's now saying that she's going to be homeless again because of she's not getting out of the hole. But although she's not getting out of her hole, she recognizes that the hole there at this particular house with this particular person is not one that she's going to stay in. So you still have to give her some kudos. You still have to give her her props and her applause because she knows better. She knows better than to have that happen to her again. She knows better, okay? But he's never going to change. He's never going to change. If you like them young, if you like them, whether it could be a family member, blood relative, or whatever, if that's what you are, it's what you are, okay? Accept people for what they are. He is what he is. He is what he is. Accept it. Felix John. Felix John. This is Sherry Veronica.
Help me spread the word about Naked Departure via social media. Subscribe and share to show support and love for our channels.